Good morning, good morning, morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is indeed Sunday, the 3rd of September. You're watching Who's Views, and this is Sunday Breakfast Live. Yes, this is the part of our shows where we get to look at the Who headlines of the past month. In this case, it's August. And of course, I am not alone. Let's bring in the breakfast crew. We've got the Time Muddler Brendan, we've got Paul, and we've got John. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Very, very welcome this morning. So, August, everybody. Wow, what a month. What a month. And we're going to start, if we may, by going straight to doing some cheering for ourselves, basically, because if you were watching us back in June, you will know that we actually talked about the rumor that we had heard that the animations were coming back to DVD, Blu-ray, Steelbook. DVD, Blu-ray, Steelbook, all three of them there, guys, all three of them covered there. And we had heard which stories were coming, but we couldn't really say much more than that. Well, that was then, and this is now, because we now know, of course, that the Underwater Menace is on the way. The BBC studios released the information of the animated Underwater Menace during August. Guys, you all saw this. Have you ordered it? What do you think about it? What's happening? What's going on?
Fully ordered. It's all there. I loved the music for the trailer, and I was thinking, when you do an animation, can we add music, or does that wreck the authenticity? Because I really loved that mini trailer. I thought it was quite powerful musically. Animation wise, I don't judge too harshly. I know the Abominable Snowmen probably went a little bit too far one way, but I'm a purist. I have to have the complete collection. All these missing stories, I do want a version of that I can actually watch. I've listened to them before, like most fans have, but I do actually want to, have the collection there. So I'm a mug. I will go for it. And actually, when I saw
he's a mug, you wouldn't consider waiting until it's cheap in the bargain bin next year?
I know. I'm a very big mug with a capital M.
I have to agree with Brendan there. I'm another mug, and I've pre-ordered it. And I'm a completist as well, and I have to have it on my shelf. And I can't wait 3 months for it to go to £2 or whatever. I have to buy full price to make sure I get it. I want it on day before release if I can, but I never get it. It always comes on the day of release. Or if it's late, I start to sweat and things like that. I have to have it on time. So I'm a bit OCD on that score.
It'll come as no surprise to you that I'm going to disagree with both of them. I'm not such a completist. I can wait. I'm a thrifty soul, you know what I mean? So I can wait. The only thing I can't wait for are the Blu-ray box sets. I buy those and pre-order and make sure I have all that. The animations, not so much. Glad to see them back. I certainly will purchase. I'll bite my time. Certainly given the fact that it is the Underwater Menace. It's not an old-time classic by any manner of means. But let's just say, Whose Views was there first with this exclusive news. So well done, JT. Well done, Whose Views.
Yeah, we did well on that one. We really did do well on that one. So yeah, the panel on this one is split 50-50 because I'm with him, I'm with John. Although I am a completist like that one, I will wait until, because I don't like spending my money either. So it's going to wait until it is reduced because it's only a few extra months. I've waited 40 years. I can wait an extra few months till it comes down to about $7.99. And just as a wee plug, a certain high street store that's left that sells records and CDs, and it's great to see vinyl back in them, is currently, and I'm not going to mention them because they're not giving me any money, they're currently selling some of the released previous range of the animations for $7.99. So if you haven't got them, you might want to walk into His Master's Voice and go and have a look, and go and have a look at the Doctor Who DVDs and the Blu-rays, because they're all reduced. I noticed that yesterday. When it comes to the animation, we know that this is another business doing them now, as we were told as well back on our previous breakfast show. What do you reckon to it, guys?
I mean, I just like quite. I mean, one of the two things have been adapted, haven't they, from the original? I mean, on the right-hand side, that picture, it's been changed, hasn't it? I mean, we had issues about Abominable Snowmen, certain changes being made. But I mean, I like the additions to these. It is a cartoon now if you're going to watch it. So basically, it's added it. You know, I recognise a kind of 1970s style to some of those creatures, really, from my childhood. I tell you
Like
one thing.
Scooby-Doo, you mean?
Yes,
yeah.
I was thinking that. One thing that does, you know, you said we were 50-50. One thing that does pull me back slightly when I lurch to pre-order is I am aware that these DVD Blu-ray collections will come out of the Troughton years, etc., and they'll stick that blooming animation on there as well. So,
Yeah, they probably will.
They will, yeah.
Yeah, they probably will.
Will be the first time fans have bought everything 4 times over, will it, to be fair? Sorry, GT, so Karen?
I was going to say, Paul, that's what gets me about not rushing out to buy them immediately now, because I've got them several times over now. I mean, Spearhead from Space has got about 42 versions of Spearhead from Space.
Don't get me started on Shadow, anyway. But the but the animation, going back to what Brendan said, I don't know. There's a picture of what people claim to be fish people. I think it's a picture on the right you had. They're not fish people. These are in episode 3, I think it is, the bit where they're wearing masks in the temple, and they're just, I think, priests. They're not fish people, and I don't know where people got that from. That these are
because they don't know the story, do they?
Yeah, probably. So these are people in the temple. They're not fish people. So it's not
That's
a redesign.
right.
It's a mask. It's a mask that I think at one point the Doctor, Ben, and Jamie have them on in episode 3. At one point, you know, so it's not a redesign. It's just a bit we've not seen.
Yeah. No, yeah. I'd like to say good morning to everybody that's watching us this morning. Nice to see you all. Thank you for joining us. So we've also got Java Bean here. It's saying news from Australia. What are you saying here? You've got the Season 8 Blu-ray spotted in JB Hi-Fi for approximately $140, which is 75 quid. And what else? You've got Season 9 also, $140, 70 to 75. And considering that things are very, very rough down there at the moment in Australia when it comes to Blu-rays and oh goodness me, thank you for sharing that with us, because that's great news there. Good morning as well to Woodhouse 122. He said to us earlier, I haven't ordered it as I usually buy the animations in store at the local HMV. Well, if you haven't got any yet, mate, pop down there now and have a look, because you might be able to get yourself a nice little bargain at the moment. Carls, I was quite surprised yesterday, and I thought, goodness me, these are all quite cheap. So we've got all that coming up. Now, the other thing we told you about, at the same time we told you about the animations, is that we'd heard that there was a project to colour some of the 1960s black and white episodes. And yet again, we hit the nail on the head, because in case you haven't seen it, the Radio Times did confirm that one of William Hartnell's final Doctor Who outings was getting what they call fresh lick of paint, which I quite made me laugh. And it is, of course, the 1966 story, The Smugglers. So this is what the Radio Times exclusive was showing there. Now, this was colorized by TV archivist Kaleidoscope. And the Radio Times were given the exclusive first look images from this colorization, with the clips being screened at the BFI's Missing Believed Wipe event on the 5th of August. So if you were there, please get in touch with us and let us know what it was like and what it was like to see these colorized episodes, because we weren't there. Kaleidoscope collaborated with colorization experts That's Chroma on this project, with the Smugglers being picked as the most viable candidate for the process. That's Chroma spokesman said, I was sent a list of potential clips, and out of those suggestions, the Smugglers seemed the most achievable option, given a limited time frame to work on. The existence of some color reference material on set production stills was definitely a consideration too, and I also thought that out of the suggested clips, the Smugglers would work best in color. Generally using original colors where known presents no major difficulties. Occasionally, some colors were deliberately wrong on set to look right in the black and white transmission, which has to be taken into account. And that's something that we all forget, of course. He goes on to say, white objects in particular were frequently a pale color, like a cream or something like that, rather than bright white, as pure white tended to flare on the black and white cameras. Actually, do you remember that was still happening in some of the early color days on Blue Peter and stuff like that? Do you remember?
Remember the big shock? We didn't realize that the original Hartnell console wasn't white at all. It was green.
Yeah. Well, you're absolutely right. He goes on to say it wasn't an issue with this particular material. However, That's Chroma believes that the colorization process could be applied to full episodes in future, though they stress that the process is quite difficult and very time consuming, with between 30 to 60 minutes spent working on each second of footage. That's a
Right,
huge project.
Yes.
Addressing
very
fans. Go on, Paul, sorry.
They're very short clips as well, so it's amazing the amount of time they put into it.
Yeah, it really is. Addressing fans' obvious queries, like we are doing here, about colorizing the episodes. They said entire episodes could certainly be colorized given sufficient time and the financial resource. Colorizing episodes originally aired in black and white can sometimes be a divisive practice, with critics arguing that archive footage should be left untouched and viewed as intended. But that's Chroma has a clear retort to that suggestion. People have been tinkering with Doctor Who ever since Silver Nemesis was released as an extended version on VHS in 1993. And the DVD releases have new CGI effects or remixed soundtracks. But these are always presented as optional alternatives. The episodes are always available as originally transmitted. Colorization is much the same. It's an optional alternative, but it's never meant to replace the originals. So if people don't like the colorations, they have choice. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? Because there's an awful lot of us that would like to see these episodes colored. But as long as you've got the original black and white, and as you've just alluded to there, Paul, the BBC will not be slow in coming forward and being able to say, here's another version.
Another version, yeah.
Can you imagine a whole library, though, of 60s? Wow.
Yeah. I think it would add so much to them. I mean, yes, stick to black and white if that's what you want. But I think a colorized version of any of those 60s stories going way back, and you would inject interest. They could be broadcast again, because when you look back, Jerry Anderson was ahead of his time with Thunderbirds. He put it in color, so therefore it kind of, even though it was made in the 60s, it could be used all the way through. Trumpton, that little kids program on BBC, was the very same. They made it in color, so it had longevity. Now, in this case, I think add color to Doctor Who, and you've got it on BBC 3, BBC 4, as well as on DVD range. I think you're going to get a lot more interest. I mean, when you see the colorized photography, which I know is slightly different because you can get more clarity sometimes, it looks I have to say, the bits I see, I mean, it might be the Dalek set or something. It looks really, I don't know, it looks very, very enticing to watch, and it seems to look more expensive. I really do.
It's a real shame. It's a real shame that Marco Polo doesn't exist, because the colour photographs from that are amazing. And imagine that.
Can we not talk about Marco Polo? Because I know we're all gutted about that one, aren't we? That is the jewel in the crown for most of us, I think, isn't it? You know,
Yes.
Even the audio on that. Wow.
I've already mentioned on here, as a Laurel and Hardy fan, the Laurel and Hardy colour versions are available. Never watched them all stuck in black and white. I'm a bit that way with Doctor Who. If it was made in black and white, but I'm a purist, I want to see it in black and white. I can understand completely the argument Brendan makes there about colour and using the colorization of Doctor Who as a gateway to perhaps for other people, other than fans, to enjoy it. My one cynical tone in this will, before we get to see it on BBC 3 or BBC 4, you're darn tootin' they'll flog it to his big time first, presumably so that people like Paul and Brendan will run out first time and buy it.
We'll be right there. We'll be there. Yeah.
DVD box set. So we know we're going to get loads and loads of opportunities to buy this. And then at some point, probably the day before I snuff it, they'll show it on BBC. Actually, more likely the day after I snuff it, they'll show it on BBC.
It's a tribute to you, John. It's a tribute.
Yeah.
I must admit, it's an all singing, all dancing thing, all variety. Yeah.
I don't know if any of you guys last Christmas saw on one of the satellite channels, or whatever we're calling them these days, the Tony Hancock series, which was recolored. And I believe Clayton Hickman, the lovely Clayton Hickman, was involved with that as well. That's what sold it to me, because I watched that in awe. It looks so fresh. It looks so good. It was so beautifully done. And that's what got me to think, yeah, this can work for Doctor Who. But you're right, John, they will flog it to us before. And on that occasion, the first colorization, I'd probably buy it immediately as well for the $29.99. They are bound to charge for it.
Yes. And then some. Yeah.
Exactly. And then some. But there you go. That's the animations for you. Updated for you there. What's happening here? We've got Woodhouse 122 is saying colonized who will happen when AI software improves. The BBC research department are working on the program. That's very interesting to know, because that ties in with what we've been told. And good morning to Jamie Reese. He's joined us as well. And Garbage is here. Garbage has arrived. So let's say good morning to Garbage, which is great because...
Morning, Garbage.
Good morning to you, sir, because thank you so much. Because what Garbage has done is he got in touch with me recently to say he'd seen this on Twitter. Now, this is now for those people outside the UK who don't understand British eccentricity. These things are called postbox toppers, and they have been around now since the Jubilee, which, believe it or not, guys, was only last year. It seems like a different world, but it was only last year, 2022. And we had loads of things that, with the late great Her Majesty the Queen, knitted and put onto these toppers, and then they went over the Royal Mail post boxes up and down the country. But Garbage found this one. He posted it on his Twitter, and then he sent it to me. So thank you very much, mate, for that, because I hadn't seen a Doctor Who flavored one before. Very interesting.
Wow.
Love the adipose on the front there.
Yeah, how do they prevent those from getting nicked?
I don't think they do. I think we just have to basically trust each other as neighbours, which is getting increasingly difficult in the United Kingdom at the moment, but we won't go into that side of the politics there. So thank you very much.
That was lovely in your collection, JT, I'm sure.
As if I'd nick something like that.
I can see you wearing that as a jaunty angle.
Betty, yes, that's South London near Wimbledon, and yes, you're very, very welcome. Anything more like that. And again, thank you to everybody that is sending us comments throughout the month. We've had lots and lots of comments about the shows that we've been putting out, and lots of involvement with everybody. So thank you so much. We do appreciate getting all the comments. We love it. We love it. We love it. Okay, so yeah, we're on Sunday, September the 3rd. You are watching Sunday Breakfast. And we're going over now to some sad news, actually, for Doctor Who merchandise collectors. It was announced in August that, unfortunately, Big Chief Studios have now gone into liquidation. Now, some of you may be aware of Big Chief Studios. They are responsible, of course, for these rather large statuettes. They've been around for a long time now, and they've produced an awful lot of them. And I'm sure many of you who have pre-ordered will and are absolutely gutted with the news that they have gone into liquidation. This is their post. It was with heavy heart that I must inform our customers that despite our best efforts, Big Chief Studios, the company, has been forced to cease trading. Having gotten through the global pandemic, the subsequent numerous knock-on effects have combined, creating a perfect storm that has extended delays to both the manufacture and release of our products. The current cost of living crisis and economic downturn have resulted in plummeting sales, which has seriously impacted our ability to continue and for us to be able to negotiate the renewal of our key licenses with any certainty. I have carefully considered the financial position of the company, and following receipt of specialist advice from Begbie's trainer, I have concluded that the company is unable to pay its debts and can no longer continue to trade. The necessary steps need to be taken to place the company into creditors' voluntary liquidation. You will shortly be receiving a formal notification from them detailing the liquidation process and steps that you may be able to take to secure a refund of any deposits you may have paid. Having worked tirelessly for over a decade to deliver high-end collectibles, it is deeply wounding for myself and the team. I am sincerely sorry to all our loyal customers and apologize wholeheartedly for the situation. Yours sincerely, Mark Andrews, the Managing Director for Big Chief Studios Limited. So it is a very, very, very sad state of affairs. Another loss, really, when it comes to business. It's awful when we hear about businesses folding in this way, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I mean, as I said that earlier about being, purist on, getting the complete collection. I've got no skin in the game on this one, but I can really sympathise with people who have built up a collection and then it's going to remain incomplete. I mean, it's gutting. That absolutely gutting. Can you imagine if our Blu-ray DVD collection suddenly stopped right in the middle? I mean, absolute disaster. So I totally sympathise, but I missed the beginning, so I'm not a collector of those, sadly.
No. I mean, sorry, John, go ahead.
I was going to say neither am I, but just reading that was a really heartfelt email public relations put out, if you liked, by him. And it's a story of our times, unfortunately. You don't have to be a Doctor Who fan to sympathise with someone who's starting off a business, and to not only to make money and do well, but to serve as fans and give them something that they would enjoy and like and treasure. And unfortunately, business after business after business have been battered on the head by a variety of different things over the last few years. And you can only feel sympathy, and you can tangibly feel the sorrow in that email. It's very sad indeed.
It is really sad, and not only because the company's been around, it's been established now for over 10 years, but also because they were fans as well. So it's fellow fans who have set up a business. But I have got friends that have invested in these things. They have bought a lot of them. They had invested in the new ones, and having spoken to them over the last couple of days, it doesn't look as if they're going to be getting any funding back. So our heart goes out to any of our fellow fans who have invested in these material. It's a really stressful and sad time for you. What can you say? Really, really sorry and sad news.
And just as John was saying, when you've got a company like that, you know, injects an awful lot of love and gives a lot to like fandom in this case, they're so close to the launch of the new series. Sometimes with businesses, it's month by month, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's so close to a reinvestment of interest from the British public. It's such a damn shame that they couldn't.
Well, you hope so. You will hope so, and we will come into this later on in the show. Will the British public get back invested in Doctor Who? At the moment, I doubt it, but we'll come back to that. We did have some... oh, sorry, Paul, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it is a sad situation that any company has to fold. But I think, alluding to what Brendan said about the new series coming up, I think the previous regime didn't help merchandising for any company in terms of the output. So, but that's another story, isn't it? But
they didn't help with anything at all.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest this morning on Sunday Breakfast Live. Absolutely. This is our discussion show on here on Who's Views. All opinions, all views welcome. We will challenge everything and we expect to be challenged in return. So please do join us. Good morning to you. We did have a glimmer of sort of good news on the other side of the aisle for the merchandise because, of course, the latest character options B and M range was announced and they have started hitting the shops as of this weekend. We are seeing various fans reporting all over Facebook and Twitter that they've got them or they've not got them or they've managed to get one or they've managed to get two. And the excitement has started again. I travelled around 4 of the buggers yesterday and none of them had them. So there we go.
And if my app this morning tells me there's one in my local shop, you might see one screen disappear fast, I tell you.
If you want to know more information, though, about the character options B and M range, you can look at our Merchandise Paradise that we presented a couple of short weeks ago over in the Merchandise Paradise playlist. We give some updates there, but of course we do. Brendan joins me on that one as well, and we just geek out a little bit for our love for these things. Yeah,
it's a lovely show, even if I do say so myself.
Well, I'm very pleased you enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Give it a thumbs up.
It was a lovely show. I thought Paul was about to say that it was a lovely show, even though he wasn't on it.
Well, there's that. Yeah. And John wasn't there either. But...
Also, at the end of August, there was groundbreaking news. It must have taken them absolutely months to think of this cover. Yes, indeed. The Doctor Who 2024 annual cover was revealed.
Crikey. How original. Wow.
Groundbreaking. I mean,
that took us by surprise.
We seem stuck with all those flux colours and everything. I don't know. There's something. They must have some new app or some technology.
I'm disappointed. There's not a lenticular cover that it flips between Tennant and Ncuti. That'd been like they did before.
Like they did, they've done that before, haven't they?
Yeah.
But this must have taken hours and hours and hours and hours of design and production planning meetings and hours,
or minutes even.
I have seen better thumbnails from YouTubers. I must admit.
Absolutely,
come on.
At least Ncuti's got his leather coat on, which is my favourite costume.
Well, at least he's dressed. Let's put it that way.
At least he's got clothes on. Yeah, he's got clothes on. Yeah, that's true.
If you are interested in this,
in costume and shooting his knickers, so you're still lucky.
So there's lucky escape, John, isn't it?
Or not, if you are interested in this. And it comes out from BBC Books and Penguin on September the 7th with a recommended retail price of $7.99. It will also be featuring in the next edition of Merchandise Paradise when I will be presenting that to the channel. But I just thought, seeing as the cover would drop there, we would put it in and we would all have, a giggle, basically.
Not pre-ordered.
Yeah.
Pre-ordered, absolutely. But $7.99 now for an annual. And you're getting a cover like this. I mean, oh gosh, I'm not saying anymore. I'll save it for MP. Right, good morning. Yes, here we go. So we've got a comment. Who's commenting? Let's see who's here. Oh, does the 15th Doctor wear clothes? Stay tuned, because we'll be investigating that very shortly. Also in August.
It's not like the time of the Doctor when he had one of those, what do you call it? I've forgotten the called. Remember Matt Smith did it in Time of the Doctor.
Yeah.
Some kind of, I forgot what it's called.
Like
There's a technical term for it. Yeah, that's
It was
right. Yeah,
rubbish. That's the technical term for it. It was just
it was
stupid.
rubbish. It was rubbish. Yeah, yeah.
It was
stupid,
cringeworthy. The cheeks of my bum were drawing together with cringeworthy. I was thinking, what the hell are they doing here? But we are digressing. We are digressing. Woodhouse122 says here that annual cover was knocked up in 5 minutes by the looks of it. One to wait for in the January sales. Yes, if you can find them. I'm actually quite interested this year to see how many people will be stocking it, because of course you couldn't find it in Britain in the last years as much as you used to. Now we've got work stores disappeared as well. Will WH Smith be taking it? Will the supermarkets take it? Will Waterstones be taking it? The online retailers are certainly taking it, and the specialist shops like the Who Shop, Galaxy 4 and Who and A are taking it. It's a lot of money though, isn't it? That's the annuals for you now as well.
Yeah.
Also in August, we got to hear about this. Now this came out of the blue, although I had heard something about it a few months ago. This is Doctor Who. The BBC announces a musical celebration ahead of the 60th anniversary. Now, one thing that people seem to have actually missed out on this is have a look at that. Now, this is being commissioned by BBC Radio 2. It's a BBC Radio 2 show. Okay, so this means it's going to be on BBC Radio 2, strangely. The blurb says, with its instantly recognisable theme, specially composed music has always been at the heart of Doctor Who. The main series will broadcast 3 special episodes this November, starring David Tennant and Catherine Tate reprising their roles as the Doctor and Donna Noble, respectively. In this celebration concert from BBC Hodinot Hall in the Wales Millennium Centre in Cardiff, the BBC National Orchestra of Wales and the BBC Singers, conducted by Alistair King, will explore this music. Now that's something that's also very interesting to know, because a lot of fans are expecting this to be like the concerts from back in the day at the Royal Albert Hall. Now we have it on extremely good authority by somebody that has worked in there and has been there many times, that this hall, which I hope I'm pronouncing correctly, the Hodinot Hall in the Wales Millennium Centre, is nowhere near the size of the Royal Albert Hall. In fact, it's a smallish type recording studio. So for all the fans that are expecting some really big Royal Albert Hall style concert, it's not going to be like that at all. We were told, weren't we guys, that it can hold at least 30 to 40.
Massive figures, get in that queue, you know, to get those tickets. It is a bit of a disappointment. I assumed it was going to be, but then again, you got to read the small print. I assumed it was going to be, you know, the Albert Hall type thing, and looking forward to all the paraphernalia that surrounded that. However, if it's not, it's still something we can use. Our BBC sings that for those of us that still use the BBC to listen to. I'm just glad we have a celebration of Doctor Who's music. My only one interest is what they're going to use from the last 5 years. Maybe 3 or 4 seconds.
Well, it is included, because what we've got here, this includes the works by Murray Gold, Sagan Akinola, Dudley Simpson, Paddy Kings, and of course Ron Grainer's original theme, as imagined by the BBC Radio Radiophonic Workshops, Delia, Derbyshire. Guests at the event will include Russell T. Davis, Murray Gold. More news will be announced at a later date. So as of course, that hasn't happened.
Sorry, JT, to interrupt. Lovely to see Dudley and Paddy's name mentioned there, because and to see the classic series being represented, because there are some fantastic themes in the classic series too. And it's just New Who.
And I was wary of when this was promoted, thinking, well, really, if all of us have been to the Doctor Who concerts that went around the country on tour with Murray Gold and that the great music then, considering we'd had this dodgy period of flat music, so to speak, I just thought, well, it's going to just be a rehash, surely, of what we all saw before. But obviously, if they're extending it properly to Dudley Simpson and Paddy Kinsland, then it gives them more choice. And that is a good, there is a hinterland of good material there. I mean, obviously, was it the Doctor Who prom when they did actually do a radiophonic 3-minute tribute?
Yeah, but that Coffin and Spet, yeah,
that was just a skimming the surface, wasn't it?
Yes.
So if they could extend there, then it won't be a rehash. It's also a very cautious approach by the BBC as well, isn't it? They aren't sure. They're dipping their toe in the water. They're not sure how much love there is for this series to go flying back. As you said earlier, JT, it's small scale. It's safe. It's just broadcast on Radio 2. I'm just wondering, how much is it caution? Is it practical?
You have to remember, Brendan, all those proms before as well, in the Albert Hall, they were jam-packed with kids. I don't think you get the same level of children turning up with their parents to that sort of thing, because one thing's for sure, the last 5 years, It's just the Doctor Who's nothing to children now. It doesn't register on the radar at all. Barely registers on adult radar too. But I don't think, you're quite right, it is a cautious approach, because I don't think they would fill it with such enthusiasm the way they did before. However, it's just good to see that, unlike previously, we've had our battles in this place about representations and celebrations of Doctor Who's full history. So that's what encourages me to see that we are in this prom celebrating the full 60 years if we're getting Dudley and Paddy Kingsland, who was my favourite of the radiophonic composers' themes, which still rattle and reverberate around in my head. And JT, have I not given you now a wonderful plug for something we're doing soon?
You have indeed, because if you are interested and if you want to know more about our voices, our views on the soundtracks over 60 years of Doctor Who, then this very week on the 7th of September, we are presenting The Sound of Whozik, a special show devoted to 60 years of soundtrack for our favorite Time Lords. Please join us. It's going to be live. Let us know what your favorite stories are, what your favorite accompanying music is. We will be here to chat about them. We are busy at the moment going through all our favorites, and by God, there's a lot. There's a lot. There's you don't realize if you start to listen, you know, you just cannot wait. Cannot wait is Java being here. He says he cannot wait for the music episode. And we'd like to say good morning as well to John, who's joined us this morning as well.
Hi,
so
John.
yes, the Sound of Whozik is this very week here on this channel. So please, it'll be dropping later on today, so you can set that bell to remind you when it's going to go live in the week. So please join us, because it's a fascinating subject, and it's one that I'm really looking forward to chatting to everybody about. So yeah, please come and join us.
But as far as
about
this,
yep,
I was going to say one good thing about this concert is it appears to be that the anniversary is finally started at the end of September. That's hopefully the start of the 60th anniversary. Finally.
It could be. I'm not so sure on myself on this one, because it is a BBC Radio 2 commission, as I've said. I reckon this will probably go out in November. I've got this feeling that everything is going on in November. So whenever this is going to be recorded, I reckon it's going to be an hour show on BBC Radio 2, if anybody still listens to BBC Radio 2. So you've got that sort of stuff all on there. So I can't see it being any more than an hour, to be honest. And I think it's going to be very trimmed. And I think it's going to be one of these things where it won't be like the Albert Hall thing. But we wait and see. We wait and see on that one. Obviously, they haven't given us any more details about that at the moment. I would expect some stuff coming through this month in September. And when it does, we will update you on the next breakfast show. Oh, so yeah, you might be right. You might be right. It might be all coming. I don't know. Right, where are we now? It's currently 10. It's 10:32 already. You're watching Sunday Breakfast here on Who's Views. And did any of you see that a small minority of fans got upset over the last couple of weeks in August? And I can't really understand why, but this started to appear on social media. Doctor Who fans take issue with Chris Chibnall, who's nudged slight. Some Doctor Who fans, some being should be in very, very small letters there. Doctor Who fans are taking issue with what they see as the Guardian newspaper taking a cheap shot at Chris Chibnall in its autumn 2023 preview. So this preview is now traditional, really, for the Guardian, as well as other things. And what they included Doctor Who in was dramas coming up called Woman in the Wool, The Changeling, Sex Education, and Squid Game, the next series of Squid Game. And they included Doctor Who in the mix. And I think just to be getting Doctor Who in the current state is absolutely fantastic. But what they said was this. For the second time in 20 years, Russell T Davies is saving Doctor Who, allegedly. After the showrunner Chris Chibnall nudged the show closer to the wilderness, Davies has returned with new scripts, more money, and everyone's favourite Doctor, David Tennant, until a festive special when Ncuti Gatwas will take over as the Time Lord's 15th incarnation. It'll be on BBC in November. And a very small minority got upset by this.
We did tell them. We did tell them.
Yeah, well, this is it. The white male stale people suddenly were right. The Jodie Whittaker era was killing the show, and we were silenced and cancelled and ostracised and told off. And so those terrible white prison people from the past classic Who how we're right. And even the Guardian, and this is classic. You go walk, you preach all the nonsense, not looking at the truth. And for a few years, the Guardian and others were saying, "Isn't Jodie Whittaker amazing? Isn't this show, reaching out, progressive, everything?" Yet in the backs of their heads, they knew the truth. They were seeing the figures, but nobody wanted to acknowledge it. It was we were the kids in the Emperor's New Clothes. We were saying the King's name. Can't you see? And isn't it funny that the Guardian, who will have been at the forefront of all this progressive nonsense, suddenly just sneaks in a little thing that the show was dying?
For everybody outside the UK that doesn't understand this, The Guardian is one of the wokest papers going at the moment. It really, really is. It's read by teachers all over the land. It's one of those. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Oh, it's awful. And it really is. I mean, John agrees with you here, Brendan. It's funny to hear The Guardian actually admitting it now after denying it over the last few years. Garbage is even saying, at the time The Guardian loved the Chibnall era, it did. It was banging from a great big mountain with a great big drum, how fabulous it was and how wonderful it all was. And Garbage goes on to say there that he even uninstalled their app. Very, very wise.
How technical. I don't install apps that I might later have to uninstall because I don't know how to uninstall them. But that's interesting. Agreeing wholeheartedly again with Brendan, there must be something in the air about those things. It's absolutely spot on. However, what I can't understand is some fans, whoever they are out there, the Chibnallites, the Jodie Whittakerites, whoever they are, there is nothing in that short paragraph which isn't anything but fact. Doctor Who was in the gutter. Ratings had gone right down, and Davis is back to save Doctor Who.
It's pretty obvious.
There's nothing there that anybody can go on and disagree with. Now, had they just had a pop at Jodie Whittaker's performance or Chibnall's scripts, then by all means come back and say, absolutely, I disagree with you. But there's nothing in that short paragraph which is untrue.
That's the problem, isn't it? I mean, the fact that people are now, because they feel it might, I generally feel people might think it's a safe distance for them actually to say, oh, that was rubbish. Because nothing more and more people
nothing to do with us.
And because it's coming from the media, which, as we know, has been captured by these extreme ideologies, music industry, the film, television, the whole creative process and the whole creative industry is there. It's right in the knuckle of this. I mean, we've had loads and loads of examples over the last few years and even over the last few months where people have even now started to call the police because they don't like somebody else's opinion. And the police, being captured by this nonsense, have gone and visited this person and found some way of actually trying to charge them. It's unbelievable and terribly undemocratic. But what we've got here is, you're absolutely right, John. This was the truth. There is nothing in there that should actually be newsworthy at all. So these small amount of fans that have complained about this are obviously the blue-haired rinse brigade who need to get a life, get a job and grow up.
But this is what irritates me with that side of, sadly, politics now, which is you get this nonsense, which is we are right in the face of no truths or facts, and everybody else is wrong. And then later on, they're just conveniently, in a retrospective way, kind of say, well, you were right, but we are right in saying it now. And you're going, oh, for God's sake, you're always right. You were right then, even though you were wrong. We were wrong then. You said you were right. Now we've been right all along, but you were right in addressing the. Oh, for God, it's timey-wimey.
It certainly is.
But it does give you a headache. But the fact is, it's getting worse before it gets better in my eyes, because we've got to deal with a lot now. This stuff is in schools. It is in the police. I am shocked about some of the stuff I read about certain police forces taking it upon themselves to police people's thoughts and opinions and charging them and putting them through horrible, we're taking you to prison and we're going to handcuff you for having an opinion. What is happening to Great Britain? It's it frightens the hell out of me. Our democracy is in the toilet, and every single day it's swimming down it.
It's a similar thing that happened in Canada. Canada we're following that trajectory where
badly.
Canada is in the pits, in terms of some of the things going there, thanks to Justin Trudeau. I can only hope that because we're several years behind. It's not too late to write the course, and we've had our talks about how Russell Davies is very much part of the wokerati, if you like. But I'm hoping that while he may still, and we have had this conversation several times, while he may still peddle the message, it will not be at the expense of good character, good storytelling, good scripts, whatever it is. But the jury, as yet,
we hope so.
Yeah,
but if
we
it,
hope so.
if it
Which
is
not
the
only
same,
hope.
if it is the same content, I mean, you know, I've been a teacher up to now, and I've just left now. But the kids would turn, as you said, John. I was seeing it with my own eyes. The kids would talk to me 5, 6, 7 years ago. The kids would mention Doctor Who and talk to me. Right up to the last period, the kids were looking at me strangely if I had any little Doctor Who items in my office. And they didn't understand. They didn't understand what it was. I mean, like I said, they said, is the Dalek and R2D2? They've lost their interest. Now, that's a sad indictment of the Chibnall era that he lost the kids.
It's not just that.
The kids think
He
they're
lost
right
everybody.
on. The kids think they're woke, and he lost them.
I mean, it's not just that. I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying, but it's not just that. It's the fact that the show business industry in particular seem to think that to be popular or to be right on, they have to endorse all this nonsense in their programming. And what concerns me is the facts are there. People are not watching this stuff. They are switching off. You know, we've got people not going to cinemas as much now. We've got people not watching television. The BBC it's lost millions of households. I mean, they're not in touch. And if you can see with the scroll down there, Ncuti Gatwas, over the last couple of days, and we'll come to this later, has confirmed that season 15, his second series, is on the way. He's getting ready to start filming it. That also concerns me, because what if people don't watch series 1? And then series 2 will produce more of the same thing. They haven't given themselves that time to actually look at what the reaction is to the show. And if need be, correct it, because they're just going to churn out more of what they're doing next year. So as you're saying, John, if it's not there, if we're not watching, we're not watching too.
I think part of this to nail Ncuti for a second series, because I think he's going to go after that. He's not going to stay. So it's to get him involved with that and get his 2 series, and he's off and some of the news coming in, because he's going to be a massive star. I think that's the issue.
But we'll have that conversation in 2025, because if he only does the 2 series, well, we're all going to be looking at the whys and why was he cast anyway and all this sort of stuff. I mean, it's going to be very different there at the time. But John's saying here, Chibnall and a lot of writers now, it's message before story script, which is a recipe for failure. And that's been proven, hasn't it, John? It really has been. It wasn't just Doctor Who. It's practically everything. They're forcing all these things. I mean, we've all talked about it for years and years and years. I'm getting bored of hearing myself talking about it, but we've got to keep talking about it so that a message at some point gets through to these people. Stop dictating to us.
And they're missing the point. Escapism. We need escapism. Doctor Who was all about escapism. JT, you were talking about it. People are turning off any version of news because it's just banging on the same drum. It's boring people. The adverts, we all know about the adverts and how those are presenting certain mixes of people now and families. That is boring people. You go to the pub. I don't ask people to talk about this. They mention it to me. Everybody is bored and sick to death of the same diet. And so Doctor Who could be in a prime position to give escapism. Yeah,
Paul, what were you saying?
I was going to say it's extreme censorship is what's happening, and that's frustrating and scary, because if you look at, I don't know, for instance, Roald Dahl books being rearranging words to not offend people and things like that, it's all gone a bit crazy, and I think it's really worrying because comedy as well is being censored. So you can't make a joke anymore. So there's no room for discussion because everything's shut down because you're wrong. You know, that's it. It's wrong, and it doesn't work.
Well, it's true. I mean,
really a massive decline of society is quite worrying.
Well, it is, and we all know about comedy from what we were talking about on our Five-ish Doctors review just a couple of nights ago. We're all gutted by the fact that the wonderful, the marvelous Peter Davison cannot put in a second one because his humor is deemed unacceptable. And yet I would reckon that 99.9% of the British public would have the same sort of humor, because deep down it's still there. We're just frightened to show it. Talking about wokery in the arts, let's visit Edinburgh, because August, of course, is the big time for the Edinburgh Film Festival.
It's finished now, thank God.
Yeah, well, it has finished now, but in itself, it caused some controversy because over the last couple of years, it has itself been cancelling various artists it deems inappropriate. It is shocking behavior for creativity. You have to follow the party line or you cannot perform at what's once one of the largest free speech events in the world. Edinburgh Film Festival, you should be hanging your heads in shame. But they're not, and we're going to get to see more of this nonsense next year. But at the event, we also had the Edinburgh TV Festival, and this was part of what they were presenting. I don't know if you guys saw any of this or heard about it, but this particular moment from last year where this happened, yes, it is, it's the, 13th into the 14th Doctor's Regeneration, was awarded by the Edinburgh TV Awards as the best television moment of the year. I wonder why.
Yeah. Probably in the same way that Churchill announcing the end of the Second World War was deemed radio moment of the year in 1945. Just the whole nation can breathe a flipping big sigh of relief because of that. That was basically it. He's gone, they've gone. Let joy commence.
This is Doctor Who's Dallas moment, isn't it? It's the Bobby shower scene.
What do you think so? I mean, the fact that the regeneration showed, it did show the handover, because this is where we know that Russell, as the fan he is, will always want some sort of handover. So we did see Whittaker forming into the next version of the David Tennant Doctor. So we did see this. So for all those that are hoping for some sort of retcon, I can't see it happening. I really can't. I think he'll just ignore it. I'm not even sure about that now over the last few weeks.
It just won't be mentioned. It just
I mean, and of course, the awards caused a bit of controversy because we still have some fans who are so loyal to Jodie Whittaker. They're saying, no, it wasn't, you know, why was it awarded the TV moment? Because it was Jodie Whittaker's regeneration. No, it was not. It was it wasn't a proper regeneration in the way that she didn't look as though she was dying. She was popping out to look at the sun after having an ice cream. And
really?
She said, she said some delicate borrowed line from John Pertwee, the blossomous blossom thing. So she couldn't even be original. And she just stared at the sunset or sunrise, whatever it was, said goodbye to the TARDIS. There was no drama at all. That is not a TV moment. The TV moment was, oh my God, it's turned back into David Tennant. Because back in my school, my good old Vox Pops, the teachers were going wild. The kids were less so because they didn't even know Tennant, because this new generation. But the staff who had been through the Chris Eccleston and David Tennant said, he's back. What's gone on there? We all knew, of course, but the punters didn't know. And so it was a TV moment because suddenly you got a recognisable Doctor back, and it's David Tennant who actually, you know, was at the zenith of New Who, really. Can I just remind people, it wasn't Jodie Whittaker's moment. It was David Tennant's moment.
Yes, It was more so, thank God she's gone. But interestingly, we'll know in a few years' time, if not before, whether or not this is the moment where Doctor Who, to use the parlance, jumps the shark. Because if you think back to the 80s, when Doctor Who was deemed to be in a bit of a mess, there was always talk of bringing back one of the original Doctors, whether it was Pertwee, Baker, or Troughton. And they never did that. They never went there. This time they have. Now, is that a sign of the absolute desperation? Is it a sign that the BBC are going to have one last throw of the dice? Or is it just Russell Davies thinking, well, in order to, I've got a new Doctor here, but I understand how tarnished the brand is. In order to get people back on board, we need someone like Tennant to get the adults on board. And remember, the people who Tennant was his Doctor may well be parents themselves now.
Yeah.
God, might have just made myself feel old. They may well be. So by encouraging those people, this may be the thinking, by encouraging those people to sit down with their kids, you may well respark the show. And I think that's the general plan. But it's interesting that while this was talked about back in the 80s, it's never a moment they've taken. This to me is smash the glass in an emergency situation, and they're having to do it. They'll not get the chance to do this again. If this doesn't work, we're done.
I think they can get away with it being the anniversary year though, because it's a novelty. I think it's handy and it's good timing, but it is kind of. I don't think they've jumped the shark just yet. I
said to Paul, I said it could well prove to be. Let's wait and see. Remember, they pulled this stunt. They showed this in October 22, and the Whooter's Regeneration was filmed in 2021. So we were the resolution to this we were only seeing during the anniversary year, and it is handy that it is an anniversary year. But nonetheless, previous anniversaries we've had past doctors visiting the current doctor.
Yeah,
this is the first time where we've actually brought back, and I think that's probably why they're calling him the 14th incarnation and not the 10th coming back, to make sure that they can't be accused of that. But essentially, that's exactly what they're up to.
But I think it's very, and I do think, because we've obviously in our reviews done 5 Doctors and Day of the Doctor now, and I joining on what you've just said, John. But I find RTD, I think, has maybe done a very wise move now, because we're talking about if this series went on for 70 or 80 years, the plot would be so cluttered with revisitations of people. It would be very hard to do well. But what he's decided is the anniversary special is split over 3 episodes with a previous incarnation. Yeah, okay, let's see if that works. Rather than a one-off special with a new Doctor, which was his only other choice. And I think putting all your eggs in one basket of a 1.5 hour, possibly spectacular, and anticlimax probably coming at the end, to spread it over 3 episodes with a new Doctor, so you can, an old Doctor, so to speak, and develop a bit more of a plot is actually the best way, because otherwise he's bearing comparison to 5 Doctors, Day of the Doctor, 3 Doctors, and you're going to lose in the end. You can't win. I think we're all saying the other day 5 Doctors was the winner. You can't do that again, especially when another 40 years, 50 years has gone.
I'd also imagine, Brendan, that throughout these 3 episodes, we will be slowly spoon-fed the 15th Doctor.
Yes.
You know,
we'll save all that talk. We'll save all that talk for the special we've got coming up in November. I just wanted to mention here that John's saying it's the most blatant we messed up without actually saying we messed it up. It certainly is. And from my point of view, I mean, that's what it's all about. That is what all this whole thing is going to be about. It is about trying to bring the audience back. It's obviously blatant that it's there, but it's also, from my point of view, they will be desperate to get to their own 20th anniversary of the reboot. Who? That's nearly here. When you think about it, it's nearly here, and I think they will be absolutely desperate to get to that mile. They can say they've done 20 years.
We could put it another way then. Joining that at that point, then it's the BBC's Guardian moment.
Well, you never know. We will be able to see. We might be able to. Well, time will tell. It always does, and that will be in November when we can say that. But congratulations to that particular part of that episode. It won the TV Moment of the Year at the Edinburgh TV Awards in August. Also up at the Edinburgh Film Festival at the time, having a whale of the time with these two, Sophie Eldred and Karen Gillan, there in one of Edinburgh's lovely, lovely bars, having a nice time. Look at them there. Yeah, and that was around about the time that Sophie would have been, of course, celebrating her birthday. So I hope you had a great birthday up in Edinburgh, Soph.
Isn't it amazing how you look at Sophie next to Karen there? And Sophie's, that's not my generation. She looks wonderful, you know.
She does. She really does.
Next to somebody 30 years her junior, probably, thereabouts. And you never know. God bless you, Sophie. You look brilliant.
Yeah.
Here. Also celebrating a birthday in August was this man. Yes, it was Sylvester McCoy who celebrated his big 80th. And we did a celebratory show back in August, 7th Scent. So if you haven't seen that, come and join our celebration for Sylvester that we did live. And we had a good time doing that. And looking back at his part of his career, but also his time as our beloved Time Lord. Wow, that was all that. And to be quite honest, we had quite a busy August, didn't we, guys? We had a really busy August here on this channel, because we did all this. Not only was Sylvester's 7th Scent birthday party in there, but we reviewed the TV movie, The Ark in Space, The Curse of Fenric, The Curse of Peladon, The Day of the Doctor. Alex Storer joined me in Merchandise Paradise to talk about his new free download book, Evolution of the Daleks. We did a very special Who Peter show, which was celebrating that unique relationship between the BBC shows Doctor Who and the longest running children's television show in the world, Blue Peter. And I also started a brand new series, Chit Chat, with the lovely Chester Worthington from the YouTube channel, Chester's Reviews. And on top of all that, we snuck in this because we did a very surprise reviews extra where we reviewed the Five-ish Doctors reboot right after the Day of the Doctor. So it was manic. And I don't know about you guys, I thought it was manic. But on top of all that, we're not finished. Have a look at this. Yes, so just as busy September for you. Please join us for all those lovely, lovely shows. The majority of them are going to be live. So if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do, and ring that bell so you get the notifications of when we will be going live with these great shows. The first of which will be, well, actually, we've got Alistair McGowan's Merchandise Paradise arriving this Tuesday. And then on Thursday, we're going to do our live stream, The Sound of Whozik. You are very welcome. You may have also seen there as well that we are going to be doing a special. Well, it's not special, but we're going to be reviewing a show that you get to choose. Yep, Whose Views Reviews, the viewer's choice is on the way. When you look at the community tab on this very channel, you can see some episodes that we've put up there for you to choose from. Now, all you have to do is choose one of these stories and we will review it in September. We've got the Aztecs, the Tomb of the Cybermen, the Claws of Axos, the Keeper of Traken, the Visitation, the Mark of the Rani, Paradise Towers, The Unquiet Dead, The Angels Take Manhattan, and The Caretaker. These are stories that we've selected for you. Vote one of those, and we will be looking at it this month. I can tell you, and I can tell the guys, that still in the lead, as of before transmission this morning, is The Unquiet Dead.
Surprising.
Yeah, I hope there's no message there. I hope they're not sending us a message, but oh wow, yeah, you know, that's that's all they're going to be there for you. So please vote, and we will review Viewer's Choice this month. Let's have a look and see who's in the chat, who's joining us this morning. Ben has joined us. Good morning to Ben. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us there. Java Bean is saying Sophie is just wonderful. Yes, she is indeed. Yeah. Of course, it is 2023. It's been a very busy year, not just for us since the launch of the channel, but it's been a busy year for people looking at conventions and going across the country with the many conventions. I know that some of us have been here, from the DWAS convention to Invasion Blackpool, which seems like only 10 minutes ago, but it's a few months ago now. And yesterday, we heard all about Whoverville. I better get rid of that banner there before I do that. Whoverville was on, and our very own Bedwyr was there, and he sent us this report.
Oh.
The 2nd of September, I was lucky to attend the sold-out Whoverville 14 event at the Quad in Derby. Venue for the main stage of the event was the Sir John Hurt Cinema, where festivities were kicked off with a live recording of Sophie Aldred interviewing Sylvester McCoy for Real Time Pictures Mythmaker series. Immediately following that, Robert Dick interviewed Matthew Waterhouse, focusing a lot on Matthew's writing work, which was a fresh change from typical discussions around Plain Adric. A quick hop into the TARDIS took us to Cinema 2, where Stephen James Walker and David J. Howe of Talos Publishing launched their 3 stunning hardback books from authors Andrew Mark Thompson, Alistair McGowan, and Darryl Joyce, who were all on hand to sign their works of brilliance. I even picked up a copy of The Illustrated Journey. Returning back to the Sir John Hurt Cinema, 8th Dr. Paul McGann held court to an auditorium where it was standing room only. Back in Cinema 2, there was an opportunity to see myself on the big screen, as Real Time Pictures unveiled their latest instalment of the Doctor on Display series, which focuses on the second Blackpool exhibition. Finally, it was back to the Sir John Hurt Cinema for the recording of Sylvester McCoy interviewing Sophie Aldred. Overall, it was a superb day, and my experience didn't even include the autographs, photo studio and other panels which took place. Congratulations to Stephen Hatcher, Hoovers, and the Quad Derby for another wonderful event. See you next year.
Wow.
Hey, thank you, Bedwyr.
Thank you,
Yes,
Bedwyr, thank you.
indeed. Thank you for that lovely report, Bedwyr. Really good. I'm glad you enjoyed it as well. And just to point out, in case you don't know, that the novels from or the books from Telos that he actually mentioned there are all featured on this channel. So you can go and see me talking about This Is a Fake. You can go and see me talking about Alistair's book this Tuesday when that drops. What else did you mention? Oh, yes. What else forgot? Working on that. But there's loads. Go and have a look at Merchandise Paradise because they're all in there. It's fantastic. So, yes, thank you for that. So let's have a look there. Yeah, bravo to Bedwyr. Java Bean is staying here. Oh, and look who's arrived. It's TARDIS Spider. Good morning, TARDIS Spider. How are you?
Good morning.
Jamie's saying, how is TARDIS Spider? And he's saying he needs a coffee as it's 5 a.m. over there. Yes, good morning to you. Lovely to see you. Thank you for joining us. And hopefully you've just seen that lovely report from Bedwyr about yesterday's Whoverville convention. Looked really good. If you went, hope you had a great time. Hope you enjoyed it. And again, thanks to Bedwyr for sending that over. It was really lovely to have that in the show. Okay, we're moving on now. It is September the 3rd. This is Who's Views Reviews, and we are looking at the headlines that made the Whoniverse in August. What colour should the TARDIS be? Now, you'd think there were more important things in life here because the obvious answer to that is off-white. None of this modern fangled nonsense and grubbiness. It should be slick and gorgeous and fabulous and looking alien, and it should be an off-white. But that's the traditional Doctor Who fan in me. But that's the very question that the Doctor Who Twitter / X, I still can't get used to calling it, what a silly name. They asked this in August, and they had a particular person responding to it. This is the post. Cavernous or quaint, round things or hexagons, what would your dream TARDIS control room look like? And there he is himself, Russell Don't Drop the T, has come back with purple and teal and topsy-turvy. Purple and teal and topsy-turvy, which has led all of us to think, is that going to be what the new console room is all about? Topsy-turvy, purple and teal. What do you think about that one, guys?
I think he's extracting the urine, if you ask me, to be honest. But
Oh, do you?
yeah.
What makes you say that?
Well, you know how cheeky he can be. He likes to stir things up a bit. He likes to tease people. I think he's just probably taking the mickey, to be honest.
Yeah, I think he's baiting us, but telling us the truth at the same time. And what I mean by that is, I think the rumours were that it's going to be a fairly modern, whitish kind of set, but like maybe because it's a sentient being, that the TARDIS reflects your mood, and depending on the episode or the story, it changes colorization. So teal might be there for one episode, orange another one, whatever. So I think he's telling us the truth, but also baiting us at the same time. But it's not the whole truth.
Well, for those of you who are not sure what teal is, it's this. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with the guys. Third time. My goodness, what's going on?
Are you real?
You're not well, John. You're not well.
I think there is a bit of extraction going on here, especially the topsy-turvy. What are you talking about? The consoles up on the ceiling and doors aren't really cheeky. I don't know what he means by that. It may well be that part of one story involves dimensional jiggery-pokery within the TARDIS, and he's using that in which to bait us. But from what I've heard and from what I've seen in terms of leaks, we're looking at a return to a more traditional look for the TARDIS in terms of roundels and off-whiteness. I believe.
Well, hopefully, because I can't, I mean, really, that's going to look really weird on cameras, I think.
That would clash with his orange costume, that.
I think it would clash with much of what Mr. Gatwas could be wearing in the next series. But speaking of Mr. Gatwas, he says, moving on, he has, of course, been continuing the interview circuit, and not like we used to do in the old days, which is all the stuff that the British public would read, but all the pretentious, arty, farty nonsense. Because this month, both he and Yasmin Finney were both interviewed by Elle magazine. Yes, another one of those glossy, overpriced things that the British public and people like us aren't going to bother with at all. And I have to say, it's another one where he's gone on with exactly the same thing as we covered last month in Rolling Stone. So I don't want to repeat things, but they keep giving us all this information, and we're here on this particular show to report it. So this was one of the pictures of Ncuti Style Awards. Ncuti Gatwas is the modern pioneer. I have blanked out some of the words there because I don't like them on this particular show or this particular channel if we can avoid them. But it seems to me that, goodness me, he loves to use it. In this article, at times Gatwas casting as those projects have been dismissed as an exercise in box ticking. Gatwa will scoff. First of all, you don't know anything about me. Secondly, tick blah blah boxes. People need to be blah blah seen. What you're going to do? Tell the same stories. Can you tell I'm bored? Have the same people fronting things for all eternity, representation and inclusivity and branching out. It enriches us all the usual showbiz dictate. It's all embarrassing. You people with your tiny mindsets, open a book, look out the window, and then off you go. There's something stirring about witnessing Gatwa angry, and not just angry. In some ways, it's unexpected. Like many of the characters he plays, Gatwa is a joyful presence, dancing and cackling through the shoot. On set, he exudes confidence. Although that's on the outside, he's quoted as saying there. In September, the fourth and final season of Sex Education will air. The pioneering series launched Gatwa's career. Lauded for its refreshingly frank take on sex and the diversity of its cast, the show quickly became an overnight hit, although it did lose viewing figures in Series 3, where it went overboard. With Gatwa's character Eric, an instant fan favourite. Shout out to screenwriter Laurie Nunn for giving nuance to this gay black character and giving him to the world. He's so fierce and unashamed. It was healing for me and great for people to see themselves represented. It taught me the importance of representation. It's so powerful and necessary.
Well,
I'm so sorry. I am so bored with it all.
I'm bored with it as well. What it boils down to me, for me, is it's not about box ticking. It's about, can this guy play the part or not? Is he any good as the Doctor? I don't care if he's black, pink, green, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's all about, can he play the part? And all this tick boxing nonsense is that he's just rubbing people up the wrong way.
But they've also got it the wrong way round. We're not the one who are ticking boxes. They're the ones who are ticking boxes and saying, we need to have this person, that person, that person. These are people we don't need to have. We just need the best people. You know, that's all that's required. It doesn't trouble me that one of the stars on the new show is a trans actor. It doesn't trouble me that Ncuti Gatwas was the first black guy to play it. It just is. That's what it is. But by jumping up and down and categorizing people and telling people, forget ticking the box, that's the box into which you have put me. We are segregating society again. After years and years and years of us all coming together,
yes,
we're all being drawn apart again.
Yeah, and segregation. History shows and has proven segregation does not work.
No.
And it's missing so much. I mean, Paul said that he doesn't want to go over and it's a boring subject, but they keep doing it. I wanted to say, look, unlike the production team, I don't hate, and nobody on this channel hates. We're just getting a bit sick of certain things. Unlike some actors in the production team, I don't think there should be a crusade to be had, a mission to accomplish, or fights to be had with some part of fandom. I don't. Unlike the producers of the show, I don't want to repeat myself all the time on the same subject. My point is, if we were launching a series of The Crown, Line of Duty, Vera, do you see the lead actors semi-naked in photo shoots? Do you see them publicising?
Please.
Yeah, do you see them selling a political message? No, you don't. And this is when I start to doubt whether the Ncuti and Yasmin, etc., are they selling themselves as a virtue or the programme? Yeah. Are they promoting themselves or the programme? Now, if they're saying, no, we're promoting the programme because of its content, well, this is where we get to another thorny area, and I don't want to repeat myself. But when it gets to, it's all about representation and the power of representation. What we're asking for is more representation of straight people in certain stereotypical roles. This is nothing clever. And we seem to be preaching that, oh my God, this amazing new program is going to fit people into new versions of conformity. I thought Doctor Who was all about individualism, about dealing with each character, each situation on its merits, and not putting people into boxes. That's not Doctor Who. And I know the new blooming story is Doctor Who, he's come from genocide. Nah. He was an individual. He couldn't fit in with Gallifrey. He cleared off. That's the story of Doctor Who. He didn't conform. Nobody conforms. Why don't we represent straight marriages and straight relationships where they're all different? They don't all fit one box. So should we all grow up on this subject? I don't mean us. I mean, let's stop repeating in the press the same old garbage about this subject.
But that's they can't in show business, because that's what takes priority for them. Everything has to be about these agendas and these messages. Absolutely everything. And it is getting very tiring when you're seeing it continually in everything. And what it's doing, as John was saying, is not only just creating segregation, but it is creating a backlash, because people will not be told how they will act and what they will say and what they will think, and they don't want the police coming around to them because some person's been offended because they've said something. It's just dangerous, and it's not. And yet we're there in our society now. We are there, and these extreme liberal ideologists are all over the shop. And what I mean, I wasn't really going to put that story in, but it happened in August. It's exactly the same as the Rolling Stone thing. The Yasmin Finney one is very much the same, just about the trans issues. And just to let you know, John, of course, there are 3 trans actors, not that it really matters, in the next series of Doctor Who. Not that it really matters, but I can guarantee you it will be bigged up and bigged up and bigged up and bigged up and bigged up. And, oh, look, aren't we stunning and brave and all that nonsense. Who really, really, really cares? As long as they're playing trans characters, I don't have an issue with it. And we'll deal with that when we get to see the stories. But it's very odd. I mean, what's coming across from me here, it seems like they have a chip on the shoulder, and they don't understand that why this show to this very day has all of us at bar pull of a certain age from the LGB community is because as kids, to time with what you're saying, Brendan, the Doctor was like us. He was a rebel doing something different, as we were. We were doing something against society. Society back then was against us. And this ties in with around about the time that Ncuti posted this to his Instagram, saying that season 2 was approaching. I mean, that's him in the gym, in case you haven't seen this. And this was posted just a couple of days ago from his Instagram account, which I don't follow, but thank you to my mate who sent this to me, because he does follow him. Huge following on Instagram, Ncuti.
Is that in the TARDIS?
No, it's not Teal. So what we've got coming out, he's posted that. But at this particular time, apparently Mr. Gatwas has now come out. Well done, Ncuti. Congratulations. Unfortunately for me, on my point of view, he's come out as a homophobic slur. He's come out as queer, which is a homophobic slur. What exactly does that mean, Ncuti? And I would like to say, if you are same-sex attractive, if you are homosexual, would you just come out as homosexual and gay? You are currently, as part of the entitled and spoiled generation that you're in, who have got no clue how we live, you are currently dissing thousands of lesbian, gay men, bisexual men and bisexual women's attempts from the 60s onwards to change the way society was, to make us accepted. We could have been fired from our jobs right up until the end of the 90s, the 1990s, just simply for being same-sex attracted. Why are you dismantling the achievements of lesbians and gay men and bisexual men and women for decades by coming out as something called queer? What the hell does that mean? I would like to tell you, Mr. Gatwas and others, there is nothing queer about being same-sex attracted. Thank you.
No,
Can I say something as a straight man, as you pointed out?
For now.
No, at the moment, yeah. The thing is, I agree with what you're saying. I think queer is a terrible expression. It sounds like you're a freak. It doesn't sound right at all. Yeah. It's not supportive in the slightest. It's not inclusive whatsoever. It's really insulting. I agree with you completely. And that's from my point of view as a straight guy. And I think it sounds odd. It sounds weird.
And the thing is, in the article, he talks about the power of representation and diversity. Right. But it's you're picking your type of diversity, and the power is the danger. He will go on about racism he's faced as an immigrant, etc. Right? Fair dues. You can argue that. But we can also argue we don't like that word. Now, he's embracing that word as a powerful representation of him. You go for it. But while you're equally saying, listen to me about racism, listen to us about that word is offensive. And it is true. I'm a teacher. There were certain schools I could not teach in because I was gay. I'm sorry, but there is oppression out there, but it's a more silent oppression than people talking about other stuff. That thing, it is powerful, this representation. And the other thing about representation is be careful of the depiction. When we were gay kids in the 1980s or working ourselves out, the only representation I saw on TV was, you know, Bronski Beat, Boy George. And I thought, I'm not gay. I'm not them. So you've got to be careful that the representation you show on TV isn't just another gimmick, isn't just another stereotype, because we're all different.
I've never liked about this whole representation thing is I get it in a soap opera or a drama, a soap opera especially, because traditionally they've always in our country they have always reflected the lifestyle of wherever it be, whether it be in London, whether it be in the Northwest, whether it be in Glasgow, wherever it's, or the Highlands, wherever it's going to be, the cast usually, or a farm, wherever it's going to be, the cast usually reflects the traditional elements of people that were watching it in there. That is why the mighty Coronation Street took off. Whoosh, because people could relate to those characters immediately from when it was launched in the late 50s, early 60s. They knew what they were getting. They recognized their neighbors, their mum, their dad, their brother. It was on there. Now, because it's enforced and it's pushed in, that magic seems to be gone. What I don't understand is in a science fiction show or a fantasy, why is it there anyway? I've said this before. I will continue to say it. We are science fiction fantasy fans. We have grown up with aliens who are blue and green and spiky and flat and can turn into all sorts of... We know about representation because we're sci-fi fans. We don't need it shoved down our throats all the time now because it's the done thing at the time. And that's what dates your stories. And that's what will date anything because you can say, oh, that was done in 2023.
I'd be more surprised if Ncuti came out to say he was straight, you know?
Well, I don't know why he's bothered because, again, it's a label and they love their labels. It's the segregation thing that John was mentioning before. They love their labels. That generation who seemed to me to be totally, not just entitled, but incredibly confused. They've created problems just so they can solve it, therefore alienating 99.9% of the British society. Yes. A lot of it, no offense to anybody watching from America, but a lot of Americanisms are now in Britain as well. Also, this word queer. I mean, let's just explain because they won't know. Queer in Britain means odd. It means different. It was used as it is today as a homophobic slur. So you've got all that coming in. Now, the Americans won't know that. They just know it from Queer as Folk, the TV show. That's all they know. So that's what I can look at it and say, that's where they got all this from. Oh, I'm going to call myself queer because it's in that show. No, America, that was originally a British TV show. And that's an old saying, hey, love, there ain't so much as queer folk down the way there. You know, it just meant, oh, isn't she odd? Or isn't he odd? Or he's a bit, and then you probably get thrown in a mental institution. That's what it means. It's all totally weird. And, you know, it's got out of hand. But all that stuff is now coming here. So this generation, they love their labels. It doesn't matter, and it shouldn't matter. It's heartbreaking for me to think all the work that I was out there marching for these young kids. I was on the front lines. I was showing my bum to various police officers when they tried to arrest us. I was doing all this sort of stuff. You know, we were going through it. We were doing things in professional workplaces to show that we were seen. I was an activist at the time. And I am horrified by what's going on now because I see them undoing every single thing we did to make sure that people knew we were same-sex attracted and we just wanted to be integrated because that happened. And now, sadly, it doesn't seem as if it's going to be successful. Homophobia is on the rise again. And I think it's because of all this enforced ideological representation. I don't know what you thought, guys.
Couldn't agree more.
It's just the danger of, you know, I'm thinking of the kids who, you know, if representation is anything, it's to show a role model or to show a way of being that maybe you weren't aware of, you know, and you can reach out, you know, find yourself, so to speak. But the thing is, Heartstoppers and the way Doctor Who seems to be talking, you're selling a fairy tale, you know, in working class areas, it's not an easy experience and it never will be.
Yeah.
And And please, if you're going to represent fairly and realistically. Don't make it look as though you just kind of, dance out there, showbiz, and everybody's going to embrace you. They are not. And in the workplace and in private life, I'm still cautious now. And so I'm sorry, these programs are great on representation, but they're not representing reality.
But they're not watched either. If you look at the output from the BBC's alleged comedy department, nobody's watching it because it's not funny. It's not funny. The classics that I've rediscovered, Siri, are not on the BBC anymore. They are on all these extra channels, or, to be very, very honest, here on the Tube of Who, YouTube. Yeah. Lots of original classics from both Britain and America, to be honest, from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. I'm discovering all that sort of stuff between the two mediums. And they're funny. They make you laugh. And practically everything they're putting out now, because it is representative, it is politically correct, there's no fun in it. And going back to the Edinburgh Film Festival, anybody that is funny isn't allowed to perform up there because they won't type. What is going on? That's where we are with all this representation nonsense shooting.
I think we've always had comedy as an avenue for debate. If you look back to That Was the Week That Was in the 60s, or Monty Python, Life of Brian, it all attacks authority and attacks things and tries to find ways of exploring discussion and debate, and that's what's been shut down. There's no room for debate anymore because you can't stimulate a discussion anymore.
It's very interesting, Paul, that you're saying that as somebody that's not in the same community we're in, as a heterosexual, bless you, and hello to Mrs. Paul. But it's interesting that you guys have grasped that, because we're very aware of it in the LGBT community. And with it being LGBT community, there's the LGBT community, there's the LGBTQI plus. There's ever increasing acronyms going on to that one. That's just nonsensical.
I have a bit of experience. I've got family members who were gay and sadly no longer with us. So I do have an experience. I know it's like saying my best friends were gay. I don't mean that kind of context, but it was a couple of family members who were gay. Yeah. So I have some experience of growing up with that and the attitudes of people with that. So I understand it from my perspective, but not directly, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I just think it's such a shame that we've got to the point now where our first leading man to be same-sex attracted, I'm assuming, because he hasn't actually said whether he's same-sex attracted or bi, he's just used this slur, the Q word. I hate that word. He's used that. So I'm assuming he's same-sex attracted, like we all have done for the past year and a bit. But I think it's a shame that after all the work we did, after all those achievements we made to make their life easier, all of them, you have the rights because of people like us that went out and fought for them and hurt for them and lost people over them. You have them. And now you won't even turn around and say, I'm same-sex attracted, I'm gay, I'm homosexual. You come up with another term. For our first leading man in the role, I find that a huge regret, a huge letdown. I'm really upset with your terminology because you've all jumped on this bandwagon. And it shows me that there's more need today for LGB without the TQ than there was even just last week. We've got to keep going with the cause on this, because if he turned around and said, "Oh, I'm gay," what message does that send to young lads, rather than saying, "Oh God, oh, it's okay to be gay," and you knew Doctor Who is as well. What are they doing? You're going to get more criticism for the Q word than you are for just saying, "Oh, I'm gay," because nobody really cares now about that. Nobody really cares. What we've got here, let's have a look at it. Oh, Java Bean is saying this. Comedy should be critical. Of course it should. Yeah, we all agree on that one. That's it. TARDIS Spider is saying the most critical are the comedians. They observe and tell the truth. If it's not true, it's not funny. Except now, TARDIS Spider, especially in your neck of the woods, and it is coming over here, they're not. And by God, I miss Joan Rivers. She is needed now because she kicked the arse out of all of them. She went too soon, but she would kick them left, right, and centre, especially her pal KG. I won't name in case I'm libeled, but it's I can afford an American suit. But all these sorts of things. It's such a shame. Ben's reminding everybody, because we always forget. Everyone like and subscribe. Thank you for doing that, Ben. God love you for that. And TARDIS Spider then comes back saying the word, yes, the M word is never used as a compliment. Someone white to a black person does a straight ooh. Well, no. And for me, that word is exactly the same as the M word, because it's tough times. The memory is still lingered. Do what you want when I'm dead. But quite frankly, right now, I'm not going anywhere. And it really, really, I think we've missed a lovely opportunity there, thanks to Ncuti Gatwas. But there we go. That was him. And as I keep saying here, and I say to the team, I don't really like reporting on this constantly because I am very bored with it, but it's important. And because they keep giving us the material, we will report it. We will answer back. We will show our viewpoints as well. That's what Who's Views is all about. It's our views. It's your views. This is Who's Views. Crikey. Right. So hopefully we've still retained an audience after that. Thank you for joining us. It is Sunday, September the 3rd. It is 25 minutes past 11 this Sunday morning. And of course, the big question for us today on the breakfast panel revolves around this. And John, is this in the cupboard?
No, for today it's in my hands.
Oh, my goodness.
It's not in the bedside cabinet. It has been well thumbed. These last few, I know.
Oh, the magazine, right? Okay, that's good. If you don't know what we're talking about, if you don't know what we're talking about, if you don't know what we're talking about here, Who's Viewers, it's simply because John subscribes, as does Brendan, to Doctor Who magazine, and on one of our previous breakfast shows, he was saying that it sits in the bedside cabinet and it doesn't really come out the drawer. So one of the things I'm going to be asking John about when we're looking at Doctor Who magazine is if it's come out of the closet. So what was it about this one that made you get out of the closet?
How much is it?
$7.99.
I don't know how much it is because I pay a subscription on
it's $7.99 per month now. I checked yesterday.
Get it cheaply. But yet this one has been pulled out of the cupboard and has been very well read. And the great thing about Doctor Who magazine under Marcus Hearn, we'll speak about Marcus in a second, I'm sure, is that it really does press the buttons at times. There's fabulous articles. In this particular article, we pay tribute to Patrick Troughton when his blue pack was revealed at is it Riverside Studios. We have a fantastic archive on one of my favourite season 20 stories, Arc of Infinity. There's a great retrospective on Richard Gregory, who worked in Imagineering and gave us the new 80s Cybermen Shock, as well as Omega and the Arc of Infinity. In fact, Richard Gregory's, I always wondered this, Richard Gregory's are actually in Omega's belt plate or chest plate. He's put his initials in there.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, you can see RG in there, bless him.
I didn't know that.
He got away with it too. And there's the continuing sort of season poll in there. This week looking at Capaldi and Jodie Whittaker, which is a good read too. So Marcus Hearn really can produce the goods, and I think he's a Doctor Who magazine editor who pays really good credit to the legacy of Doctor Who. It's not just all about the new stuff. And in the lean months between series, or the exceptional lean months of the Jodie Whittaker era, where there was really nothing to talk about. In fact, I remember in one particular Doctor Who magazine, they reviewed a whole season in 3 pages, because back in the day we used to take a story over 2 pages, but they reviewed a whole season in 3 pages. There was that little to say about it.
So you're talking it was padding then?
Well, no, I'm talking about a couple of years back. Yeah, good. But it showed up exactly how much cooperation they got from the production team, and really how much they thought about the product anyway. But this one really plays up well. It's fantastic. It's not trying to tell us that the Crotons are transgender, or that William Hartnell used to cross-dress, or I don't know.
Can you imagine? Oh my God.
He did have the wig.
I had heard that.
He was well on his way. Oh. But it's a fantastic article, and as it's his valedictory article, Marcus Hearn, I want to pay tribute to him for a lot of the great stuff he did. Now, having said that, it was only a couple of weeks ago that's led to this is out the closet routine that we play here. Because only a couple of months ago that Marcus Hearn sort of gave us the Doomsday fiasco of all that, 1099, all the rest of it. But strangely enough, poor Marcus has announced his resignation in this issue. Mm-hmm. Although on your ticker tape line there, GT, you've announced the new editor of Doctor Who as Jason Quinn, who I don't know who he is.
No.
But interestingly, Marcus, after producing a fantastic issue this time round and worth every penny of the $7.99, has resigned. He's not able to announce his successor. So, and I know nothing. I know zero, zero, zero. I say that straight away. But I have to wonder, does Marcus himself look back at some of these issues, which I said at the time, I feel his arm was up the back is twisted behind his back with some of these, and decided, you know what? Let somebody else take this poison chalice now, because it's taking the magazine down a route I don't want to go. Because interestingly, he's still continuing with the excellent bookazines. And I've just recently finished the 1963-64 one. I'm currently reading the 1988 one, and I'm about to do the 2007 one. These are fabulous. They're jam-packed with material, and it's a great read. They are well thumbed. But interestingly, despite all this great content, he's gone, and he's gone very quickly. So I can only speculate. Is there pressure being brought to bear on the editorialness of Doctor Who magazine by Bad Wolf, the BBC, or whoever? And Marcus has decided, you know what, unless I got control over my magazine, I'm out of here. And that's a shame, because apart from a few hiccups, where perhaps these people have had their say over the editor, he's done a really good job.
It is a shame, because Marcus Hearn is a lovely guy. A lot of us have come across him over the last few years. And if I haven't read Doctor Who magazine since I got a bit bored with it again recently. And if there is something behind this, that's quite sinister. We're not saying there is. Obviously, it's just an opinion by John. He's looking at stuff there. But if that has happened, it is a great shame, because he's a lovely guy and he's worked hard on that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you'd like to come on the show and tell us, Marcus. You're very, very welcome any time on Who's Views, mate.
Well, I'd love to hear. But just to re-emphasise, we are now 2 months clear of that dreadful disaster that was the Doomsday promotion, which was priced at $10.99.
Yeah.
For no other reason than the fact that this product was being forced upon the readership. I can only imagine if I'd been the luck to have been editor of Doctor Who magazine, if that sort of suicide mission had been forced on my magazine, I might have said, you know what, after a period that lapsed of a month or two, I'm out, I'm done, you're not doing this to me anymore. And it's interesting that he's unable to announce his successor, which makes it sound as if it's all been a bit speedy.
I get what you're saying there. I really do. It does seem, and as I say, time will tell, because we get to know about these things eventually. Everything does come out. TARDIS Spider over in the States there is saying, used to read Doctor Who magazine, got to be useless and costly. Now it cannot be found on the newsstands old time. Well, to be honest as well, it's the same in Britain and has been since around about the second year of the Chibnall production. You know, I remember that newsagents used to get about 10, 15 copies of this thing. Now it's then when that Tennant cover happened, it went up again, and now it's back down, I noticed, to 4 or 5. So that it's, you know, it's interesting. Java Bean here is saying it's $20 in Australia.
Yeah. Wow.
It's $7.99 a month here. I mean, if you're going to put something together that is that costly, it's got to be quality. Like the bookazines are what, $9.99, $10.99?
$9.99.
But they're the quality. Yeah, I mean, Paul likes them, Brendan likes them, John, you like them. I've got friends that like them. I mean, come on, that's the quality. If you're going to do something, and of course, they're not monthly, so you can sort of budget for them when you know they're coming out. And when you want to know they're coming out, make sure you tune in with us with Merchandise Paradise. I'll tell you. I'd like to say good morning and hello, but just before you talk, Paul, sorry a second. To Bedling Funk, who's back with us. Hi, everybody. Got dragged to the shop, so I'm going to have to watch the beginning of the show. Welcome back, mate. Missed you, and all your witty comments. So it's lovely to see you there as well. Java been saying that Doctor Who magazine is hard to find in Australia. Wow, what were you saying, Paul?
I was going to ask about how long Marcus Hearn had been the editor of the magazine. I don't know if I missed that in the conversation. You know how long he's been?
I honestly couldn't tell you. I think it's about, what, is it 2+ years, roughly?
Really?
Right, so
he's been around for a long time, though, Paul.
He was writing for the magazine World War II.
Yeah, but in terms of editor, I wondered in terms of pressure
could be that
from BBC in terms of working on during the Chibnall era and now, if they're trying to push certain things like they have been this year, then I think I can understand his frustration.
Yeah, because it sounds like it's become a bit more of a two-way process. You know, you're the editor of a magazine, you have editorial control, but obviously, you know, as a tribute almost to the previous magazine, you've got Beep the Meep and everything. So you've got using some of the material into the program, which RTD thinks is a better way of doing it. However, it might mean it's a two-way process and there's more editorial input from outside the magazine.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the timing becomes interesting because it's just before the ramp up for the new series, where we don't know what values or issues or plot lines they're going to want to emphasize. It's all speculation, but you do wonder about the timing.
Well, we'll soon find out, because the new editor of Doctor Who magazine is Jason Quinn. It's a name we don't know. So good luck to Jason, though, with taking on this very important and well-established and, of course, long-running magazine as you enter a new period with it. I hope you have a good time doing it and enjoy it. And let's see if it brings back readers to Doctor Who magazine with Jason coming in. It all depends, of course, on the power of the next series. If the power of the next series is a flop, then it won't be taking up the merchandise, including Doctor Who magazine, as we have seen over the last few years. But good luck, Jason. We wish you all the best here from Who's Views. And again, why not come and see us and talk to us on the show? We'd love to see you. That would be wonderful. So we've got all that. I mean, the other thing about the Doctor Who magazine, it really has to tie in with what's going on with the television now that it's back. I mean, we all remember when it was off the air and it went for all that time and was genius because it kept feeding us information and doing things and relating to the time and now it's all, I don't know. It's all a bit sort of, I don't know what I'm saying. Let's talk about what's going on here. TARDIS Spider is saying, give a child a book today. Fair enough. And Ben Casey wants us to know it's Old Firm Derby Day today in Scotland, and don't we know it? Because it's all over the papers, I can assure you.
Especially for those of us in Glasgow. Yeah, it's very busy.
Oh, there you are, you see. Well, talking of Doctor Who magazine, this is, of course, the review of Doctor Who magazine this month. And Brendan, the casting, of course, caught your eye again this month. What do you want to say about that?
Yeah, well, no, the first thing is I've never heard of any of them, so I don't know why it was any news anyway. But so basically,
there's a lot of that going on right now, isn't there?
There is, yeah.
So they've announced, Phil Collinson kind of give you a few soundbite lines, and he discussed these 4 new members to be cast. 2 are for the Christmas special, and 2 are for the 2024 series. So Gemma Arrowsmith, on the far left there, she's going to be in the Christmas special, and third one along, Mary Malone, Christmas special, and the other 2 2024. It says that Gemma Arrowsmith and Mary Malone are both kind of linked with the Ruby Sunday storyline, and all will be revealed. But all I know about Gemma Arrowsmith is she's written and acted in the Tracy Ullman show when that was on BBC. And
that's going back a long time, though, isn't it? And it wasn't woke. It was probably one of the last comedies that the BBC allowed that wasn't woke. There's a whole sketch you can see on YouTube about the dangers of being woke, which is genius.
Yeah. And she's done something on Radio 4, a sketch series. Mary Malone, again, it's the Ruby Sunday link. She's won an award for supporting role in The Prince in the theatre, and she's been in an episode of Vera.
Which is one of the worst episodes of my beloved Vera. What?
Is she the one that wheels her wheelbarrow through streets broad and narrow, crying bones and muscle? Is that
no, it comes from one of the worst episodes of my beloved Vera. I've loved that show for years, but the last series again was infiltrated by ideology and woke sayings and dictations from show business. Mary, of course, in Vera, we won't go on for this for too long. Very, and that played the trans woman character, and the Vera character was telling her, and it did upset people at the time. You should have been housed in a women's refuge, or that sort of stuff. So they really plugged it on there because, of course, you shouldn't. But that's my opinion. Go on then, Time Muddler.
And the other 2, Billy Brayshaw and, well, there's a very long name, but luckily he's called Luke Jurdy. Hollyoaks for him, and Doctors, and CBBC drama with the other one. Not very recognisable at all, but they're going to be in the new series. And plus, there was a bonus one, wasn't there, JT, of Davina McCall.
Now, this is the one that got me. And thank you for bringing this in. This is Davina McCall. Do you want to do a quick introduction to that? Now, we have to stress this is actually currently a rumour.
Yeah, it's a rumour. Of course, a lot of you will remember her voice was in the 2005 as the Davina droid. And so she's kind of been in it before. This is another cameo, they say.
Really?
There's rumours that she will play herself again, so to speak, from her genealogy series, Long Lost Families, which which might be, spoilers, a tie-in with Ruby Sunday being adopted.
Yeah.
Which worries me about how this would tie in with the Doctor who's obsessed with the Timeless Children origins. I just hope not. And then you've got the Davina McCall character cameo. The rumor is that she'll either get injured or killed by a Christmas tree, which is almost a hark back to the spinning Christmas tree in the Eccleston. It was the first Tennant story. So that's
cannot kill Davina McCall. You can't do that. She's a national. I mean, we all know her. She's had such a lovely career. I'm very surprised about this. Now, if this is true, Who viewers, and Davina McCall is in, even as a cameo in the next series of Doctor Who, I am stunned because Davina McCall, of course, is one of the people who they tried to cancel. And yes, we all know the sort of people that would try to cancel anyone. And I'm sad to say, I really believe that the current production team are part of that culture and that whole cult that would do this. But yes, they tried to cancel it over many things, including a particular tweet that was totally taken out of context by hysteria, basically, by the usual cultists going, you can't do this, you can't do this. Oh, she's saying this, she's saying that. She was saying absolutely nothing about that. But she's been absolutely adamant with her views, including what we were saying before, John. She is totally against the segregation of people. It is not the way forward. So if this is true, and Davina McCall is coming into the show, even as a cameo, my goodness, wow.
It's encouraging.
It is, but I'm stunned and shocked. I really am.
Yeah, I was going to say, it proves.
Behave yourself, TARDIS Spider.
It proves themselves that they are willing to uncancel those that have been cancelled and be properly inclusive in terms of having people that may not necessarily support their own particular agenda.
Well, you would hope so, but then Davina, I mean, it could show a slight. I mean, we have seen certain members of the Doctor Who production team at the recent Manchester Pride, which, as we all know here, as members of LGB, is now run and operated by LGBTQI cultists, and they do evict gay men and women from that. And we do know that certain people from the Doctor Who production team, not mentioning any names, were there last weekend supporting all this extreme liberal ideology, that we know that they are all supporting all this nonsense. So it's very, very weird. And again, it shows the fickleness really of show business, because they would be aware of the hounding to Ms. McCall that she has had, just like J.K. Rowling has had, just like Ryder Gaines is getting, all this sort of stuff. These women are being attacked on social media, attacked in their own sectors. I mean, Davina has come out on various interviews saying she's very concerned about some of the opinions that she strongly believes in, i.e. a woman is a woman, because she might lose work out of it. Sad state of affairs. It really is a sad state of affairs.
Hopefully it shows that RTD also, as he has proven in the past, is quite loyal to teams and people he's worked with before. And, hopefully that's inclusive. That's inclusivity. So, yeah, loyalty, I approve of that. She was with him at the beginning of the New Who, big risk for everybody. She did, I mean, Anne Robinson did the same. It was important that these were, because it was a linchpin episode, really, the Big Brother and everything. You needed Davina McCall in, so she did them a favour as well. So he's doing a favour back, hopefully. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? So that's part of what was in Doctor Who magazine. Now, thank you both for joining in with that one as well, for telling us about the latest bit of casting. Time will tell with this, but if it's rumoured that Davina is going to be in it, well, good for her. Good for her. And we'll talk about it in the future.
Christmas trees, I say, wear a helmet.
I've been watching out for Christmas trees since 2005. I look at them very, very strangely in garden centres now, I can tell you. Just to let you know as well that we have also this month been told all about a special exhibition that was announced in August. Adventures in Time and Space, 60 Years of Doctor Who Art. Now, if you are anywhere near Weston-super-Mare, down there somewhere in England, the south of England, somewhere down there, then this is an exhibition for you. this starts on the 21st of October this year, 2023. It runs until the 27th of January, 2024, and it sees the largest collection of original and digital art from and about our beloved program, Doctor Who, ever shown in one location. It's being hosted at the Western Museum, and as you can see there, that's their official poster with that classic work from the Target novel by Royston Knipe. The exhibition itself covers from VHS video covers, annuals, and features work from Andrew Skilleter, Chris Achilleos, Colin Howard, Dave Gibbons, Jeff Cummins, Mike Collins from Bad Wolf, Lee Binding, Lee Sullivan, Anthony Dry, and a lot more, and has been organised by the South West Heritage Trust. You can Google it if you want to know more, and you can look at their website at the Western Museum, which is in Weston-super-Mare. But if you're interested in that and you're anywhere near it, well, there's something else for you to go and have a look at this year. That's another celebratory event, isn't it? Fantastic. Oh, look at this. John's saying, my old stomping ground, only 2 hours away. I think I will have to pop down. Great. We will be talking about a little bit of coverage there then, John, I think. You and I will have a... Well, yeah, that'd be great.
Careful what you reveal to JT.
No, yeah, always think about content. Just to reply to TARDIS Spider before I forget, hello TARDIS Spider, he wants to know, what is this Thursday's video review? There isn't one this week because we will be reviewing, if you like, we will be paying homage to the sound of Whozik. We're going to be looking at the music of 60 years of Doctor Who, and we're going to be talking about all our favourites. So please join us for that one. It's a little bit different for us, but the soundtracks to 60 years of Doctor Who, from the original Ron Grainer theme tune right up to where we are currently right now with Sagan Akinole, I think I'm saying that right. Do forgive me. We're going to be talking about all of that. So please join us live on Thursday for the sound of Whozik.
And everybody, tell us which are your favourites.
That's what we want to know. It should be a really good show. And what we've learned as well is that there's loads. So we could be on for a week, to be quite honest. Yeah, I've already phoned Damon Holmes saying he's got to be up there.
I'm hoping, JT, you're going to sing the Sting as Julie Andrews as well.
Well, it did occur to me.
I thought,
yes. It did occur to me to do that. So yeah, we've got that. So there you go, TARDIS Spider. But the reviews will be coming back with Viewer's Choice on the September the 21st, where we will be reviewing what you guys want us to review, because you're going to vote for those stories in the community tab. At the moment, as I said earlier, The Unquiet Dead is in the lead. But you can change all that by just going to the community tab and voting for one of the stories. So exciting to see what's going on there. Right, currently it's 11:46 on Sunday morning. It's nearly lunchtime. So thank you for staying with us. Thank you for joining us. And we are going to go to, the final part of what we've got here. It's been a busy month for the press. God love certain aspects of the press. The BBC themselves put this out. This, of course, was another sort of picture from the forthcoming specials with David Tennant as the 14th Doctor, and you'll be seeing this all over the place if you haven't already. So that's all been there. What else have we had there? Oh, well, again, as part of previews in the Radio Times, you saw this one, didn't you, Brendan?
Yeah.
Doctor Who featured as part of their, what do you call this? Look ahead, another look ahead to television shows that are coming up in the autumn. We've got this. Now, this made me laugh. This is from the Daily Mirror. This is a story, Daily Mirror, that is 40 years old. Janet's tough time in the TARDIS with Tom, which also comes off the back of last month's SFX interview that we covered in The Breakfast Show with Matthew, who said the very same thing. For all of us as Doctor Who fans, well, we know this. We know this. It's not news to us, but God bless the Daily Mirror for trying to keep Doctor Who in their papers. They have been a supporter forever, really. They also did this. Now, who spies teal in the background colour?
Oh, yes.
Now, that's also been on several of your magazines. You'll notice it now that we've talked about it.
It has.
Yeah.
Very dull,
and that was just regurgitating the story, because obviously they had nothing else to put in there, because there's nothing else happening in the world at all, of the fact that Catherine Tate and David Tennant are back in November. That's all it was.
I'm really hoping that if that is the new TARDIS set that we're seeing, that the 14th Doctor went round the Jodie set and smashed it with a hammer or something. It was horrible.
Well, I can't comment. I'm not saying anything about that one.
Horrible.
But I don't think it is. I think that is just the lighting on the photographic set. But now that I've pointed it out, you will see that hazy sort of thing everywhere because it is on several magazines already, because that was the photo shoot we did last year. Everybody. Again, in the papers, we spoke about it before, but Ncuti's interview with Elle magazine has made some of the tabloids, especially this picture. Again, in the Daily Mirror. These are some of those.
Blimey.
He's
They
such a
shouldn't have put
snazzy
that
dresser.
You know,
shouldn't
he's,
put that photograph underneath his crotch, though, should they?
it looks like he's pooed that out.
Now, these pictures are what they call art, everybody. These clothes he is wearing, as usual, are hugely expensive. They are designer. Yes, he is wearing a dress there on the right. Let's just put that in now and get on with it. He's wearing black shorts there and some sort of woolen jumper with a split in it. But of course, these sort of arty-farty projects that will be published in arty-farty pretentious magazines such as Elle, etc., will make it into the tabloids. And that's the image that the British public gets to see. That's it. The Daily Mirror still sells. The Daily Star sells. The other paper I don't like to do, which is that yellow thing in the sky, can't stand it. It still sells. You know, all these things, these tabloids still sell. They're not the numbers they used to be in the 80s and the 90s. We know that. But this is what the British public sees. That's what they judge.
And it was that article that I referred to you that Talk TV did a moment on it. Just
well, we're coming to that. We're coming to that.
Mocking and ridiculing the program.
Yeah, I'm coming to that right now, because what happened, of course, is because of this in the, I think it was also in one of the other papers, but I haven't written down the credits to that. But I think this was in a couple of the tabloids. And because they were in the tabloids, as Brendan has mentioned there, Talk TV got hold of it and started to talk live on the television with people watching about Doctor Diversity. New Doctor Who actor celebrates role in a dress. Now, that is a headline. That is the headline. That's what people will see. Now, I do know right now that people at the BBC will dismiss that immediately because it's what they perceive as being right-wing. That's utter nonsense. These shows are showing an alternative point of view to what big mainstream and show business especially want us to listen to. So therefore it's labeled right wing. It absolutely is not. Both Talk TV, GB News and others, they're just talking what they want to talk. They are talking the opinions they are allowed to have, and they are questioning a lot of the ideology material that's coming through. That's why it's labeled right wing, because you're not allowed to question this sort of stuff. But I got a little bit concerned with the fact that Brendan saw this. Tell us what was going on. What was the discussion in this, Brendan?
Yeah, I mean, they have a 30-minute blast at all the headlines, and of all the news that's out there, and there's an awful lot of interesting topics out there, as you know, they decided to pick on that article and talk about the Doctor in hot pants and a dress. Oh, and then they started, and I have to say, their tone was mockery and ridicule of the woke BBC and what they're trying to do. And they were talking about the killing of the programme and how for the last few years it went too woke. And you see, what my concern is, when that's the chatter out there, it doesn't matter what the BBC are trying to represent. How we receive it and how it's been represented to us by certain kind of chat forums is not the same thing. And it was absolute contempt for the programme and what it was trying to do. And they said at one point, they really have got consumed with given a diet of wokery. And they listed a whole series of wokery. And they said, it's as if Doctor Who's been captured by this and is one of the worst examples.
Oh dear, that doesn't bode well, because whether they like it or not, these channels do have viewers. And of course, they are here on YouTube and they get hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of people watching these things. And yet I have this feeling that these people will just ignore it all. No, we're in the right. This is what we're doing. You will comply. You will be like us. And they're not listening to the bigger picture. And yet it has been proven several times now that these alternative channels to our mainstream channels that have been around for decades are growing in number. The British public is watching them. And it concerns me that when we get coverage like that, it worries me that it's doing more harm than good before the thing even arrives.
Can I just say one thing on that? I mean, this idea that the attitude of the BBC or whoever is it, because this represents a right-wing attitude or a right-wing news presenting channel. Who cares? The people are entitled to have an opinion, and people are entitled to station their politics, whether it's in the centre, to the left, to the right. And the reason why these channels have emerged in recent years is because many people who position themselves on the right feel that their views aren't suitably represented on the BBC, ITV, and elsewhere. So that's why and if there wasn't a demand for these things, they wouldn't exist. So for the BBC or anybody else can't just dismiss this and say, oh no, that's what the right.
They are though, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, precisely, and that way lies their own eventual destruction. Because
Absolutely.
more and more people think, well, right or wrong, that's their opinion. And in a democracy, they're entitled to it. And these people have children and grandchildren. And they ultimately decide who will sit and watch this stuff. So you're quite right. It's all very well appearing in an esoteric magazine like Elle or Rolling Stone, but it does make its way to the tabloids. It does make a way to these tabloid TV chat shows and into people's eyes and ears, and helps them form an opinion of this new actor before he's even taken a step
That's the
on
problem.
the program.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you, and that what worries me. What are you going to say, Paul?
I was going to say the trouble with the article is as well, not least of all the bit on the TV, but the article and the pictures. Reading it or looking at it from an audience point of view, it suggests that what you're seeing there is the way Ncuti's dressed is going to be interpreted in the TV series. So it looks like it's going to be a huge amount of that. That one new Doctor Who's going to look like. You know, you can see mixture of pictures there, but it doesn't say
you're right.
The dress is not Doctor Who. You know what I mean? It doesn't say that at all. It could be this all could be part of the new series. It's just very misleading.
Do you know what I think? I think people like Tim Davie, the Director General of the BBC, will be very, aware of this message it's sending out. Doctor Who is one of the big hopes for the BBC in this coming autumn season, in terms of not only garnering a lot of young people, because that's what they're after, a lot of young people watching the channel, clicking on their streams. If that's, and get them while they're young and keep them, I'm sure Tim Davie, who is allegedly not part, or supposedly not part of the BBC cabal, which believes in all of this and is there deliberately to provide the opposite point of view, I'm sure him looking at this will be raising an eyebrow, and hopefully he is too.
I hope so. I doubt it because he's been there for a couple of years now and nothing seems to have changed. But we are external. We don't know. We don't know the whole drive in there. We don't know if the whole the enforcement of the rules about inclusion and diversity and stuff. Even their
a lot of BBC journalists, in Newsnight and on the BBC News channel, who were John Sopel, Emily Maitlis, who are very obviously, giving of their opinions at the same point as
totally.
The news. There was a clear out there, and we've had a sort of refresh there. So, as with all things, the BBC, like any major organisation, it takes a long time to turn the tanker. So, hopefully,
you're right. You are right. You are right. John is saying here in the comments here, this is the problem, though. A large number of parents will just say, no, I'm not letting my kids watch this, regardless of the quality. The PR prior to the 60s has been terrible and it will alienate. I am inclined to agree with that, to be quite honest. And the power of the parents, I've said this before on shows, I don't think they feel they're in tune with the British public right now. I don't think they are. I think they live on Twitter X. I think they're all there and they're in their own echo chambers. And it's because of what you were saying there as well, John, that the rise of these alternative channels like Talk TV, which has been around for a few years now, GB News, which is going, I think it's nearly at 3 years now. The opportunity for them has been there to be created, to come about, simply because, as you say, the main channels have missed the point of what the British public are thinking and what we're saying and what, I mean, that's why everything's down. The ratings are down for all the shows, because they don't want to watch them.
Going back to the point about children, is Doctor Who requires a family audience and kids to grow up and be like we are. You need to have. We were brought up a Doctor Who's kids that got our imagination going, and we continue to be fans. I need that kind of support to build the series. If they don't have kids at the start of it, they're not going to have generations to come.
I also worry about the fact it's all well and good producing blooming sonic screwdriver toys, which people like me will buy. It's all well and good doing that and getting them out there, but you can sort of see what audience they're going for now, and I think it's very, very similar to the one Chibnall was after. And you're right, John. I think all of us, we don't matter anymore because we're old, even though we're the ones that kept the show going through 15 years and we're there to welcome it back. I don't think any of them are actually in tune with us anymore to be able to say they don't matter anymore. And yet we're the ones with the money. We've got TARDIS Spider here saying Disney Plus, who were at Edinburgh, it was on the ticker tape earlier. Disney Plus is doing this and the numbers of sub drops daily. Where will the Doctor go next? John responds to that. TARDIS Spider share price has dropped to 81 for Disney. Has it not? Sadly, they will not listen to their customers. No, show business won't, because they are very strange. And then he goes to the big Furore over there. Yes, we know who she is, but she's got 7 magical creatures now, hasn't she? That's a huge flop. I don't know what they're doing. John is also saying that he agrees with you, Paul. Great to see all your comments coming through. Thank you very much for joining us on Sunday Breakfast today. Okay, let's look at something that's quite nice to round up after all that, because that was a bit sort of harsh. But as I say, they're giving it to us. We have to talk about it. That's what the show's about. But there's also this that came also from the radiotimes.com. 2 particular stories that they published here. Revisit rare Radio Times illustrations from Doctor Who's 20th anniversary. Mark Thomas is recalling his special commission from 40 years ago. Now, this is the artwork that was commissioned in 1983 for the Radio Times 20th anniversary special. And this is where Mark has supplied all the artwork. And as you can see here, it says on there as well, he also did a piece for 2005 and then in 2006 when he did these sort of things. So if you're looking through that, you can get it from radiotimes.com if you want to look at Mark's work there. And you can also look at markthomasillustration.co.uk. The other thing that the Radio Times, of course, also illustrates is that you can look at pictures from the 1980s production office, which show people like John Nathan Turner and Tom and Peter and everybody in there. That's also available now on radiotimes.com. Some lovely shots from the Radio Times archive there. A lot of those pictures were not put into the Radio Times at the time. So it's now a great chance to look at them over at radiotimes.com. Wow. What a show. What a show. I want to round off with this that has come from Twitter. Look at this. Now, this is down south, innit? And this is a sort of shopping centre type thing. You can see a couple of the shopping centres there. But if you look at the top here, you can see a couple of a few Daleks and a couple of Cybermen. I thought that was quite fun. And thank you to Dave from Twitter for sending me that in. You did tell me where it is, but guess what? I've got so many notes, I've completely forgotten. So there you go. Well done for sending me that in anyway, Dave. Really, really appreciate that. Let's have a look and see what the chat is saying here for us as well. Oh, look, you've got a comment here. Liking the TARDIS collection at the back of the Time Muddler, says John.
Thank you very much. All bespoke. Richard,
I have to say, I really like Brendan's Triffid in the front there as well.
Yes.
My breakfast.
Oh, brilliant. Well,
can I just check your arrangement for teal? Any teal in there?
If nothing more from this edition of Sunday Breakfast Live, you've found out what teal is. We hope you have enjoyed this month's edition of Whose Views Sunday Breakfast Live. Thank you all for joining us. We've had a great time. I do hope you've enjoyed the discussion. Gentlemen, what have you thought today?
It's been very, very thought-provoking show today. I've very enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And as you say, JT, if they keep providing the ammunition, we'll have to fire the bullets. So that's what we're up to.
And this is only the beginning. We haven't even hit the promotion drive yet, and we're filled 2 hours of a show.
I'm going to cross myself now, I think.
My hope is that in the next month we can review next month's breakfast show without having to look at a picture of Ncuti in his pants.
It's not going to happen. No. It's not going to happen. I mean, we used to do that.
With experience.
We used to do that, or I certainly used to do that with friends of mine when we were younger and thinner. More importantly, in the gay clubs that were around at the 90s and even at the turn of the century, because it meant something to do that. And also when you were dancing, it was very cool. Is it the thing to do now? Haven't they got over it yet? Can't the kids find something else to do? I don't know. There is still lots of unanswered questions about our beloved show and lots of things that we will be talking about. So join us next time for Sunday Breakfast Live, which will be at the end of... It's September already, everybody. I know, it's absolutely... Also this week, don't forget that on the channel this week, we've got my interview with Alistair McGowan over his book, The Fanzine Book, which is a great interview with that. That'll be arriving on the channel on Tuesday. Please like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you know exactly when that drops. And then join us live on Thursday, the 7th of September, when we are going to be the Sound of Whozik. We are going to be celebrating 60 years of soundtracks that have accompanied us right through our fabulous stories that they've been giving us here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you to John, to Java Bean, to Jamie, to Meddling Funk, who says, I'm looking forward to catching up with the beginning of the show. And of course, also to TARDIS Band. Thank you, panel. Thank you, chat. Good day, all of you. Enjoy your journey through time and space. Love to your friends and love to your family. Oh, and to you as well. How lovely is that? From us on The Breakfast Show for this month. We'll see you later on in the channel. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Hi, everybody.
Bye. Bye.